I enjoy being with my people. Like every time we're with MSPRA, I'm like, I enjoy being with my people because we kind of get it. But we're also in situations where you want to build a system that will outlast you, right? Like I love public education. I would love to stay at Moss Point my whole career, but I want to build a system that outlasts me. So like if somebody was to come into this role, they could pick up what I've done and continue to elevate student voice, creating systems that allow you to lay a foundation for what has happened in your school and tell the history and elevate the students' voices and also give clear and consistent messaging regardless of who is sitting in the seat. So for me, I just want to continue to build a system that outlasts me and any individual that will come behind me and add value to school communications, right? Like we're kind of the adhesive that kind of holds schools together.
Welcome to the inaugural episode of the MSPRA Podcast, brought to you by the Mississippi School Public Relations Association. In the world of school PR, there are so many variables that come into play, from website maintenance, social media, to crisis communication, and the everyday public relations responsibilities that we all know so well. MSPRA is a statewide organization made up of communications professionals who love to support and challenge each other in an effort to become great communicators. We like to laugh that Friday Night Lights might have us on different sidelines, but when it comes to the betterment of educating Mississippi students, we are all on the same team. Or as Zac Efron used to say, we're all in this together. Today, I am excited to introduce our MSPRA treasurer and reigning communicator of the year, Miss Ja'Leasa Bolden from Moss Point School District in Moss Point, Mississippi. Ja'Leasa, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm good. Happy to be here. I'm excited about this podcast. It will be a tool used to help school communicators everywhere, but a great way to showcase all of our school communicators in Mississippi. So I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. I'm excited. You're here. So kind of like kicking right off into that, how did you get into school communications?
So I am a product of the Pascagoula Gaucher School District, which was Pascagoula School District when I was growing up. But I know Miss Debbie Anglin. As a child, I kind of watched her in school communications, and she was pretty awesome. She did a great job of telling the story of Pascagoula School District, Pascagoula Gaucher School District at the time, and she was actually in place during Hurricane Katrina, and I think I was like in 9th or 10th grade during that time. But I really leaned into the role of being in education and doing some meaningful work. And mass comm has always been a thing for me. I worked in nonprofit and I've done other governmental jobs in working for the city of Gaucher. So I've had experience with just telling stories, and Moss Point, this opportunity at Moss Point came available 10 years ago. Next year, I would have been in Moss Point 10 years next year.
Wow.
It came available and I jumped on it because it was an opportunity to showcase and tell the stories of children, educators in this community. And I believed it. And my husband's a proud Moss Point graduate. So that's always a plus, but it really was an opportunity for me, and I always admired Debbie Anglin growing up, and to do what she has done in that district here was a goal of mine. So I'm excited to be here, and I have thoroughly enjoyed the work.
So one of the things that I love about Mississippi, is we tend to be a punching bag every once in a while for a joke or whatever, but we all really are some of the greatest people, and we're biased. We're from Mississippi. I get it. But it really is such a wonderful place statewide. But when you get into each community, everybody is so very unique. Moss Point itself is such a unique community. What aspects of your job are directly pointed in how you execute them because of your community?
Yeah, Moss Point is a resilient community. It's a proud community, and it's a deeply connected community. And that directly informs how I approach communication in the district. This district and this community values relationship, visibility, and honesty. And my work is rooted in being trustworthy and consistent because our families want to hear directly from us when things happen, good or bad. At Moss Point, communication has to feel personable. And that's what I've done. I've made it very personal. My parents are accustomed to the phone calls that say, "Good evening, Tiger Nation. This is Mrs. Bolden, the communications director, with an important announcement." So they have gotten very used to my voice. And your communication in this community, it cannot be generic or distant. It requires presence. I live here in the same community. I'm at all the school events, and I understand the history of the community and the pride that they have. So reality shapes both the tone and the strategy of every message that I put out. But knowing that the relationships in this community matter, that they are very proud of the history of the community, and I keep that at the forefront of everything that I do. But it's the underlying work of how I get things done in the school district as it pertains to communication. I remember that, I'm gonna have a grandmother who's gonna hold me accountable. I'm gonna have students who are going to ask the questions. So I just try to do everything that I do rooted in transparency and trust.
Yeah, you're not joking when you talk about there's a history in Walls Point, because see my Clinton Arrows here, we very much remember losing that state championship back in 2001, back in 2000. So that's not like it, sits in my heart and I harbor over it, but that's okay.
Yeah, yeah, and we're proud of those championships. We're proud of that. We have our school district is one of the school districts in the state that has the highest football players in the NFL. Like we have records around that, and we're like they're proud of the history, and they know that we're gonna get back there. So I know we played Columbia, and I told Allison, I said, "Girl, we're coming for you." And when Columbia won, I was like, "Yeah, we whatever,
That's
like
right.
whatever, we're coming back."
And,
So
and
we're proud of that history in Moss Point, and we take it to every aspect of our in every aspect of what we do.
So getting into you're talking about the communications aspect of being very personable, and the community having to know who you are, and you can't be generic. When you live that life, as we all know in communications, very publicly, the initiatives that are awesome take off. Oh, and they're wonderful. But the initiatives that fall flat, you fall flat in front of everybody, but you also get an opportunity to learn from them, and you get to learn from everybody, and it kind of draws everybody back in. So what kind of initiatives or efforts did you have out there that have worked very well? And then what are some of those that you kind of put out there that you thought, what, we need to shift or we need to pivot a little bit?
So one initiative that worked exceptionally well at the Moss Point School District was establishing consistent, intentional storytelling across platforms. I regularly highlight students and teachers and programs and achievements on Facebook. So it's something that's circulated. In school communications, we always say, like, our parents are not on Facebook. It's the community members, it's the retirees, it's the alumni. So I use that platform to kind of shift the narrative of what's actually going on in our district and highlighting our students. And it kind of paints a full picture of what's happening in our classrooms and what's happening in our school. Early on, a challenge that I had was we were using like one-way communication channels, where we were just putting out information. It was not a way for parents to kind of communicate back, and we quickly adjusted in that arena. So now we have layered communications. We use text messages, social media, email, phone calls, and a lot of face-to-face engagement to kind of strengthen that. But early on, we were like using AIM. I don't it was inside of SAM 7, but it was just one way communication where parents could not respond, and now we've pivoted to Parent Square and School Status, where parents can kind of double back and reach back and go back and get information and go look at documents. And it has been very helpful for us because it gives us a resource and a platform for us to engage families on every day, not just for when kids are doing things that are not good. It gives us the opportunity to highlight children when they're doing well, to highlight the things that are going on in the district, to highlight the things that we need to share across the board. And so I think when we upped our communications channels and used multiple things to contact parents in our community at large, it really helped us. So I would say the one-way communication that was not working, like
Yeah.
everybody wasn't getting it, and we had to pivot very quickly. And one thing that I'm really proud of, and an initiative that we've done extremely well, is using our social media to kind of amplify the stories and change the narrative of what's going on in Moss Point School District.
Yeah, I like that. It's kind of like, I come from a baseball family, so you can have a pitcher, but you got to have a catcher. If you don't have a pitcher, you just got a thrower. If you don't have a
Right.
catcher who's behind the plate, and so in communications, if you're going to transmit, you got to have a receiver. We were just talking
Yeah.
about microphones, and the one's a transmitter and one's a receiver. So it's kind of the exact same way. So you're right. I like And I love the fact that you pointed out your layering. So I always call it built-in redundancy, but you've got those extra layers to where just because you've told somebody once doesn't mean that they heard it that one time. If you give them to them in a layered approach, they're going to
Yeah.
take that. The other thing that I love that you mentioned right there is that when the teachers are engaged, it's going to give you an avenue to where you can get feedback to see what forms of communication work and how you can shift going further in the future. I do like how your engagement with parents is also reflected in your engagement with the teachers. You have very much a wonderful calendar content management system. You've talked to us before at previous gatherings about your content calendar, and it's just wonderful. So, kind of walk me through how you handle this calendar, and then specifically tell me about your days of the week.
Okay, so my calendar and content management system is built around intentional planning and flexibility. So across our district, we use Google Calendars, and I encourage our principals to identify someone in their building who puts all their activities on there so I can see them. It also feeds into our website so people can actively see the activities that we're having. And I maintain my master calendar. And it's my master calendar is aligned with like district priorities, board meetings, school events, and seasonal milestones. Like we're doing 12 days of Christmas right now, right? So every now and then we're highlighting what they're doing in schools. From there, I break it down into like a weekly and a daily focus area. And that allows me to stay proactive while also being responsive when unexpected things arise. So like on Monday is set for planning and alignment with district leadership in schools. So I look at the calendar on Monday. We do every Monday we post this week in MPSD, right? It has everything that's going on from testing to games to activities. If kids get to wear something special, our children are in uniform. So it really helps families plan when we put the activity if they get to wear a red shirt on Friday. So we include everything in there. On Tuesdays, it's more about like storytelling. I try to get out on campuses, get random photos or stock photos if there's not activities going on. So if I see kids working or a teacher really teaching like or a really cool lesson, I try to document that on Tuesdays. And I might not use it at that particular time, but it's also something I have in my repertoire of things when I need
Yeah.
to highlight or showcase someone.
Oh, yeah.
Wednesday is website Wednesday, right? So on Wednesday we
I love
update the
Website Wednesday
website.
so much. I think that's wonderful.
We take everything, we up everything, we correct everything. If there's some personnel changes, if there's some content that needs to be removed, or if someone needs their district page information added, that's the day that we do that. And on Thursday, I kind of use Thursday as my wrap up day, kind of like I'm closing the gaps of things that I've had. Just looking at reporting, looking at feedback, looking at we on Thursdays, typically sometimes I go through Facebook and I invite everybody who has not liked our page, right? So if they like the picture, but I haven't invited them to like the page, I go through and we kind of invite them to like the page. So it's just kind of catching up and wrapping up all the things that we've done that week. And Friday is preparation for next week. So whatever is going on Friday, I kind of look at the next week if there's things that need to be ordered, if there's content, graphics that need to be made with information to be filled in. Well, I kind of catch that up on Friday. So I kind of break my week up into those days to kind of make it digestible for me. When you are kind of a department in one, I do have an admin assistant, so I'm grateful for that. But when you're a department of one, you have to figure out a way to tackle all the things. And so breaking my week down into the days of activities of what to cover and how to accomplish those things, it has really helped me cover a lot of content over time. So I'm really proud of it. I have all of the holidays when MSBA sends out that list of celebration days. I already have those mapped out. We build those graphics at the beginning of the school year or kind of at the beginning of the month, so that doesn't catch us. But it's been very helpful, and it has allowed me to be very proactive in my approach to telling the story of the Moss Point School District.
One of the areas of the Moss Point School District happened a few years ago. You just talked about how much you like to be proactive. When you've got everybody together, you've got everything in line. We all love the beginning of school because that's when we can. I call it fishing. I try to find the people who can't get and don't get our communication so that I can then get them in line, and that way they can get what we need to send out, whether it be through the teachers, the principals, or from the central office location. But in 2023, you had literally, I guess this is the worst term to call it, but the perfect storm of a tornado that came through Moss Point, but it was in June. So school wasn't in session. You didn't have everybody lined up. The second graders going into third grade weren't third graders yet. So you didn't have homeroom teachers. What was required of your office to handle this crisis that was in such a unique manner right before the school year started?
So uniquely enough, before the tornado, we were switching to what we call as the flexible school schedule. So our kids were coming back to school July 23rd. So we had less than a month to prepare for our children coming back. So one of the biggest things I'll never forget, I was in my office. I was in central office at the high school. We had our basketball girls were in the gym, and I think maybe volleyball. They were doing their little summer workouts. And so when we got the alert that a tornado was coming, right? We're on the coast, hurricanes, yeah. Tornado never happened before. So like
Yeah.
even in our drill practice, like we do the tornado drill, but that wasn't like necessarily on our radar. Like we'll one day experience an actual tornado. So from my department, it required close coordination with district leadership, with maintenance, with emergency responders, with our school admins, to just kind of understand or figure out like where we go next. The roof of our gym was destroyed. Our softball and baseball complex were destroyed. And we actually had children on site that we just had to make sure were mentally and physically okay because they were in the facilities. So it required us to kind of coordinate very closely. Families at that point were like, we start school in a month, like what are we gonna do? So the families needed clarity. And they needed us to be honest about what we were doing. And at the time, our superintendent was like, we're starting school. Like, we're going to be ready for school in 30 days. So that's all we told our parents were like, hey, let us know if you got some immediate needs. Let us know if your families are experiencing something so we can tie our resources and bring all of our resources together. But hey, y'all, we're starting school on the first day of school.
So kind of jump into a little bit of that, like, cause I'm always one of those person that I love the dash in between things. We've got a problem, okay, and we ended up on the other side of the problem, but that little bridge right in between, how did you? What's a handful of specifics that you did to get a hold of different families? Because Moss Point is a little bit like Clinton, to where we have people who live in really big houses, we have people who live in apartments, and everything in between. People who are out for summer and who haven't made it back yet, and people who never leave the town because they just love it so much. Mm-hmm. How did you try to get? How did you tactically get all that information out to them?
Okay, so one of the biggest things that we do, we have a really strong Parent Square has been very helpful for us. So in the process, we were already had done registration, so we had a very good hub of information and a place where I could communicate to parents. So one thing I tried to do was, they're accustomed to hearing my jolly voice, so I did a call out, like just to make sure parents understood, like we're calm. We've only had one facility that has been touched by the tornado in a large way, which was Moss Point High School, and that we're on top of it. The next thing I did was WLOX wanted to come out. We did live interviews and walkthroughs with the superintendent, right? So he's walking them through the buildings and talking about like this is the impact that the tornado had on the school, but we're moving forward, and our maintenance department will be in here mitigating all of this tomorrow, right? So we started putting visuals in front of our families to let them know, like, hey, we're working with. We finished one side of the classroom. We were like, oh, yay, we're getting ready for school. Like we still kept the tone that we're getting ready for school. We made a conscious decision, though, not to minimize the situation, just based off of what you said. Like there were a large variety of needs and things that happen, and certain people had the means to replace things, some people did not have the means to replace things, so we didn't minimize the situation. It was like, look, these are the resources that are available. If you need them, let us know. If certain areas were impacted more than others, we strategically looked at those kids who lived in those neighborhoods, and then we reached out to those families directly, like to let them know, like, hey, do you need something? Or let them tell us, hey, well, I'm out of town, I don't even know what my house looks like. So it created created a sense of community, and our school theme for that year was grit, which was gumption, resilience, integrity, and tenacity. And everybody was like, we just got to have grit to get to this school through this school year. So we had a lot of grit, and we ate a lot of grits of the year
That's right.
2023 to reiterate and reinforce that mantra to people. But it really took a lot for our kids, because it was our first time coming back in July. And it was a really great school year, but we're still dealing with some of the remnants of it, because our baseball and softball teams had to play at other facilities during their seasons. And so now this will be our first year. Fingers crossed they're turning dirt and doing all things, but baseball, we should be back in Moss Point. And we're really excited. We're really excited about that.
Were the semesters different? Like, I mean, clearly, obviously, the fall semester was, picking up the damage, but was the spring semester, was it, was anything back to normal, or was it
Yeah,
kind
so
of
by the
a,
spring, everything was back to normal for the school. I think we kind of recovered the quickest. We still see remnants of the tornado on Main Street. It took a lot of buildings. Merchant Marine Bank, they just did a ribbon cutting this past spring. So it's the community has taken a while to rebuild from it, but the school, I would say by January we had a good foot, and the only thing we were missing was our softball and baseball field. Our roof was redone. Our kids were in classrooms, and we didn't. And honestly, the first day of school, our students were able to use the entire school. Like, so we were thinking that we wouldn't be able to do things in the gymnasium, but the first day of school, our students were able to use the entire campus of Moss Point High School, and we were extremely proud of that.
That's pretty good. I mean, these were a group of kids that had, 3 years before that suffered through and come out the other side of COVID. So this was just
Yeah.
another thing to just, again, like you said, just show grit. That is a tough group of kids. They get a bad rap these days because they're such a lazy generation, but
Yeah.
they've gone through two massive things. They need they need a stripe on their shoulder for that, for sure.
I agree. The students who are experienced COVID, they do get a bad rap. They are typically stated to be lazy. They don't want to work. But it was a lot of trauma, and it was a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
social skills lost and a lot of different things. So I see them being a little resilient on the backside. I think as they grow and mature and become young adults, that they will respond to trauma differently, based
Yeah.
off of the experiences that they've had.
I firmly agree. So kind of close out, I think you're probably one of the few that are in public relations with the school district that really kind of wanted to go out for school public relations. Some of, like me, being a teacher, kind of came from the education side, came in. Other people were just PR professionals and then found a job in here. So you have such a unique approach to this. In the past, you've had a unique approach of this in our present, but then kind of moving forward, what's kind of caught your attention as something that you're paying attention to as we near this upcoming future of whatever the rest of this decade is going to look at like, and then going into the next one?
Yeah, so like I enjoy being with my people. Like every time we're with MSPRA, I'm like, I enjoy being with my people because we kind of get it. But we're also in situations where you want to build a system that will outlast you, right? Like I love public education. I would love to stay at Moss Point my whole career, but I want to build a system that outlasts me. So like if somebody was to come into this role, they could pick up what I've done and continue to elevate student voice, and prepare for future leadership transitions, right? Like you guys have watched me transition through 3 superintendents,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like creating systems that allow you to uh lay a foundation for what has happened in your school and tell the history and elevate the students' voices, and also give clear and consistent messaging regardless of who is sitting in the seat. So for me, in Moss Point, I just want to continue to build a system that outlasts me and any individual that will come behind me, and add value to school communications, right? Like
Yeah.
we're kind of the adhesive that kind of holds schools together. And I don't think a lot of times we don't get acknowledged for that part of it. And most of our personalities is like we're not like tell everybody that I can do all of this stuff. Like, please don't
Yeah.
tell these people that I know
Yeah.
how to do this. But it's just being able to intentionally like storytell and reflect the excellence and growth and pride of all of our school districts, because we're all uniquely different, but we all exhibit excellence. There's always growth for all of us and the pride that we have. So I think looking toward the future, I know one thing that I am actively working on, and even seeking out professional development, is in the videography part, right? Like, the pictures are cool, but now these kids on TikTok making reels, doing like, and that's just something I have to learn to do, because that's where the audience is going. Our parents are much younger than previous parents. So just building systems that outlast individuals and continuing to elevate student voice. So that the district always is seen in a positive light for people who are looking for positivity.
Well, Ja'Leasa, I appreciate you letting me take some time out of your day. 2026 is going to be an awesome year, so I'm excited that you get to be the one to kick off this podcast. Another thing too that we should get to start bragging about now is we now have a new website, and you can go and visit MSPRA. MSPRA.org, and you can find registration information. You can find more podcasts once they become available, and more of everything and anything that you need for MSPRA right here. Again, Ja'Leasa, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, and I can't wait to see you down the road.
All right. Thank you, Robert. It was great.
All right.